Alright, I'm back with part 3 of Jay's Knit Simple Stitches for Simple Sweaters here at Jay's Knit and Purl Jam. Alright, you had homework? I had homework. And the homework was to simply, after you take a sweater or a top or something and you got yourself a side seam and wrote that number down. Alright, I normally stay around between 10 and 11 inches. You don't have to be exact right now to get it right to that number. But the whole purpose of the homework was for new or returning back to knitting, for you to get a feel of your knitting tension. How does your knitting tension look? Look at your stitches. Are we on the same page? Is this what you have? A long piece of fabric that's pretty nice, nice and smooth. We're not looking for perfection, people. We're just looking to get a nice tension. So as we move towards the front, we're getting ready to start our front. You don't want to have stitches all over the place and looking all wacky. So this was good practice. Does that make sense? All right. Now the next thing, after this, we're going to stop this back. We're going to leave it right here because we're going to go to the front and start working our cables and lace. So the first thing, of course, the great thing about having this sweater in two pieces, you can just switch back and forth with the two pieces and not have to worry about a lot of other stuff. So I'm going to move this sweater, the back of the sweater. This is the back so far. Move that, and now look. Here is the beginning of the front of the sweater. And guess what? This is just the ribbing. Now I took my little piece of yarn out, but I'm going to put it back in just so that you're not confused. We start talking. On the wrong side, on your ribbing, when you start, you want to kind of mark it so that once you get up into the lace and stuff, you'll know. Alright, but there's, just so that you'll see. Now, what's so great about it, you will simply cast on the same number you cast in the back. You will start exactly the same, and you will work ever how many rows of this 1x1 ribbing that you worked on your back of the sweater. If you were able to get to 6, kudos to you. If you added 2 more and you did 8, Jay, I did 8. Okay, 8 rows. All right, but the rest of us, you have 9 rows here finished. And as I turn the work, because I have the back marked, I went back and marked it again so you could see it too. And of course, when we turn the work, we are on row 10. But like I said, I gave everybody leeway because maybe everyone, may not have the moxie to try to get all the way to 10. So now what we want to do is start working our ribbing, our cables and our lace, the center of the sweater. And I do have one thing right now I want to just make a it's not a wrong correction, it's something I decided to change, a pattern change. As you work, of course you're going to have to work your ribbon like I've done, but I'm going to go ahead and start the lace so that once you finish you can go right into it. But on my working formula, do you remember I laid out all the working formula and I promise I won't go back and start. I won't go back and go back into it. I'm just going to have it here on the sheet. Alright, Jay's working formula. On the original formula, I had a repeat of the cable. I had 2 repeats. Well, when I thought about it, that's not, when we get to the top, it's not going to be enough stitches for a good neck opening. You got to be able to get your head on through this sweater opening once we put ribbing. So I have changed, and everyone would change on your simple. You can just write yours over nice and clean just like I have. On the mock cable, instead of 2 repeats, I'm going to change it to, I changed to 3 repeats. So it's a multiple of 5 plus 2. So 5 times 3 is 15, plus the 2 extra stitches gives me 17 stitches. So everyone on your formula, you would just simply cross out what we had and put, I think we had 12 or something, put in the new number. So everyone, everywhere, every size for your cable, you get 17 here, 17 here. The lace stays at 16. Now, whatever your original number of stitches that you have worked out your number, if you add 17, 16, and 17, and then subtract that from your number, I subtracted it from 100, all right, then I had, apparently I must have had 50 stitches left. Well, I divided those 50 stitches for my stockinette section. So that means 25 on this side of all of this little center decorative stitching and 25 on this side. It depends on your number. That's why I put a little question mark so you'll know it's not automatically 25. It's after you subtract here, here, and here from your whatever the number is you have. Then you divide that and put it on each side. Then, of course, you go back to the original number. You'd add all of this up. Does that equal back? If it does, yay. Then you add one more stitch to that number to make it an odd number so that you can do your ribbing. Does that make sense? You can do the ribbing. So before you do the ribbing, I guess I should have said this first, before you do the ribbing, make that one little change here and then make sure your number comes out and then you can work your ribbing. Alright, now I can go, we're going to knit. Once you do that, I'm on the front side, I'm ready to start knitting by my working formula. Working this, and all these lines here, of course, is where we're going to put stitch markers. So you're going to need some dedicated stitch markers to separate these sections. Alright, let's get ready to knit. I'm going to change the camera and then we'll be ready to go. Just wanted to make sure you had those new numbers. Alright, back in just a minute. Alright, as we get ready to start working the body of the sweater, I'm on the front side and I'm ready to knit my first row across the whole front body of the sweater. And this is, the back of the sweater is just fine, but sometimes for the front of the sweater, I build in a safety row just for people who are not, who are confident and you're always afraid you're going to make a mistake. So on the front, I didn't have to worry about this on the back, but on the front, instead of going right into the pattern, we're going to knit across and then purl back and then the next row. So if you do have to, for instance, have to come or pull back, you're not going all the way into your ribbing. I just called it a little safety row just to get back to, so you could have, if you had to pull back, you could pull back and then pick up stitches. So let me show you, but do you remember we still have, on the front, we have pattern and we have one extra stitch, and we can't let that one extra stitch ride in the front because it'll throw off this pattern and the center. So we will start right here. Now, again, I knit the first and last stitch. You slip or do whatever. So I knit that first stitch, and I go ahead and knit maybe 2 or 3 stitches, maybe 4. Then I go ahead and stop, and I go ahead and knit 2 stitches together, just along this edge, this side edge. Now, I should be down to my regular or the original stitch count without adding that one extra that I had for the ribbing. Does that make sense? Now we're just going to knit across. I decided to go ahead and put in the safety row. If you're a seasoned knitter, you don't have to do this. You could wait and we'd go right into the lace pattern. But just to give confidence to those who are in this learning experience, on this journey with us, it's a lot to take in. And this is a help. As you get more seasoned into pattern reading things, they have things they call safety lifelines or safety lines, But for this, it's harder for you to work that or figure it out, or to get your stitches back on than just to pull back when you're learning. So I will see you on the other end. I will knit all the way across. I've already taken that one stitch out, and you will too, right here on the front edge. Go all the way around, knit. I knit the first and last stitch. I will turn the work, and I will purl back. I will see you again on the right side. All right, so now I'm on the right side. I hope you're ready too. We're going to start our working across, doing not only the cable but our lace stitches. Now to get started, I have already counted out on my, of course I'm working off of my working formula line, and my first section is of stockinette is 25 stitches. Now you have to know what's yours. Then I'll have 17. Everybody has 17 for the cable, 16 for the lace. All right, we've done that. So now, let me show you how it looks. I went ahead, because it's hard to knit and read and count the stitches and not know where you are. So what I did, I went ahead and counted over 25 stitches for me, and I put one of these little markers to hold the place so that I don't go past my 25 stitches. Okay, so you're just going to knit across. I could have had this done, but I wanted to just start fresh. I wanted to just knit with you. Oh, so we'll just knit across. I don't know how many stitches you have. And of course you will need some stitch markers. I have these little stitch markers you see that I use. These are rubber O-rings. I think they're used in jewelry. Rubber O and then the word ring. And I got them off of Etsy, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And at that time I got a great deal. They came, I ordered it from a vendor. I got 100 for like, I don't know, $7 or $8. I can't remember. And then I went back a few years later to order maybe another 100, but he was already off of Etsy. Now they still have them, jewelry O-rings, but of course you get just a few, like 10 for maybe $15 or $20. They've upped the price. But anyway, have some very simple stitch markers because of all this lace and stuff. You don't want anything to get in the way. So now I've marked the stitch. I've marked where I want to get up to. And I will count to make sure. It's always good to count, especially this first row. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, and 1 is 25. All right, so I have my 25 stitches, so that's when I'm going to put on my first marker. You see that? I am working across my own working formula. Everywhere you see a line, that's a marker. That's where you're to place a marker. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and count the next section. The next section is our first cable, and I need 17. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 1 is 17. So I'm going to put my little removable marker just there so I don't run past it. I just got one of these little locking markers. Okay, so now 17, but now we're going to do the cable. I'm going to read out the cable, and then we'll work it. Of course, this is the right side. This is row 1 of the mock cable. And you can change this any way you want. It is a very simple stitch. You'll see it in lots of books. And they've given, you can use several different stitches. But it starts on this one, purl 2, then knit 3, purl 2. Then repeat. Knit 3, purl 2, knit 3, purl 2, and continue across the row. So my yarn needs to come in front. I need to start with a purl 2, 1, 2, then yarning back, knit 3, 2, 3. Okay, purl 2. So I've got a mark so I don't run past my number of stitches and I'm trying to count and read. 2 and 3. If you need to go back, you can see the purl bumps. Purl 2, knit 3, yarn in front, purl 2, 1, 2, yarn in back, knit 3, 1, 2, and 3. And I should end with a purl 2. And there's the last 2 stitches. Purl 2. Now I'm going to put a different marker on to represent, so I'll know where the cable will start, where the lace will start. But first of all, let me count my stitches over. Everyone everywhere should have 16 for the lace. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So now I'm going to move this marker and just put it right here so that I don't run past and have a, whoops. Alright, so now I put my marker on. And I'll just double count my lace. I do not want 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Okay. Now for the lace, yarn in back. And I'm going to read it. And we are going to work this lace the same on whether it's on the front side or the wrong side. And it's knit 2, yarn over, knit 2 stitches together. Now repeat. Yarn over, knit 2 stitches together. Yarn over, knit 2 stitches together and across till you will have 2 stitches left, and with no yarn over after the last knit 2 together, you will simply knit the last 2 stitches. So let me show you what it looks like. I've already counted and put a mark so I don't run past it while I'm trying to work the stitch. So knit 2 stitches, just like that. Just knit 2, yarn over, now knit 2 stitches together. It's just one of the forgotten stitches. Yarn over, knit 2 stitches together, yarn over, yarn over, knit 2 together, a little more yarn, and get me some yarn. Okay, now if you lose your place, just back up and you can see the yarn over. So if I back up, I can see there's a yarn over, so I know I knit 2 stitches together, yarn over, knit 2 together. Now yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 stitches together. I see there's 2 stitches left, but I do not need to yarn over. After I finish the last knit 2 stitches together, I see 2 stitches. Simply knit the last 2 stitches. And there you have it. And we'll just double check the count. Make sure I only have 16. That I didn't yarn over them too many times or something. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Can you see that? Okay, so now I need to move my little marker. If you do this, it just helps that you won't run past or run shy or something. I should have back, now I'm going back to the cable. We still have to do row 1 on this side. So I need 17 stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 1 is 17. Just like that. Oops, I dropped my, okay. And then of course, I have to put a matching red marker or whatever color to end the lace. See, the lace now is in between 2 markers. Cable, stitches, the lace stitches. Now I'm on the other side of the cable. I better check my number again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 1 is 17. I'm right. Alright, here we go. Again, on the cable, row 1, it says purl 2. 1, 2. Yarn in back, knit 3. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn in front, purl 2. 1, 2. I wanted to make this as easy as possible. Yarn in back, knit 3. But when it's all finished, it's going to look like, wow, oh man, your friend's going to say, you knit that? Yes. Yarn in, after I knit 3, yarn in front, purl 2. Because it looks like yet you did a lot more work. Yarn in back, knit 3, 1, 2 and 3, and then I end this this cable with yarn in front and purl 2. Can you see that? All right, now before I do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and count before I make sure I have the right amount of stitches. So in my case, I'm supposed to have 25 on this side to match the other side. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, and 1 makes 25. So now I can remove my little marker here that helped me across, put in a stitch marker to hold the place to keep it separate, and now I just put my yarn in back, because now I just want to knit off these stitches that makes the side front of my sweater. This is the front, remember. We've already got the back up. Gosh, I can't seem to get any yarn. Let's see if I can get a little yarn. There we go. I can just simply knit off. Just like that. And as you can see, when I started this section, this part 3, I went ahead and made an information sheet so that you can always refer back to it. If for any reason, maybe you just wanted to see something in writing, since I really don't do written patterns. Okay, so there we go. Now let's see how it looks. There's the center of the sweater, the center front. That's the lace. I have two markers of the same color to represent the center. And then I have the cable on this side and cable, and then these just fill out the front of the sweater right there. All right, so now when we turn, we will be working the wrong side, row 2. So I'll be right back. All right, so when I turn the work, of course I'm on the wrong side of the sweater, and I went ahead, I knit the first and last stitch. So I knit the first stitch, put my yarn in front, and now I've purled across all of those stockinette stitches. That's what stockinette is. Knit on the front, purl on the back. And I see that I'm coming up to my first marker, which is the cable, one of the cables. Okay, so I purled across on the wrong side. Now when I get to the cable, I'm going to slide the marker. Well, first I'm going to read it. I'm going to read row 2, the wrong side of the cable section right here. It says, knit 2, then purl 3, knit 2. Repeat, purl 3, knit 2, and repeat to the end of the row, to the end of the section. So I'm going to put my yarn in back, because I know that the first 2 stitches is a knit 2. Now you can't see it this early, but after a while, I think when you see it in a pattern, or you see this written in a book, it always says knit the stitches as they appear, or knit the knits and purl the purls. And once we get up far enough, you're going to say, oh man, that's easy. I see it, Jay, I see it. Okay, so I know the first 2 stitches, it says knit 2. Yarn in front. And then instead of on the back side, I purl those 3 stitches. So purl 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now yarn in back. I knit 2. 1, and 2. Then yarn in front, purl the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. Then yarn in back, knit the next 2. 1, 2. Some yarn. All right, now yarn in front, purl the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And then I end with a knit 2 on this wrong side. You're doing just the reverse, and eventually we're going to have, this is going to pop out so that you will not even have to even look at the pattern anymore. Now guess what? We're up to the next marker, which represents the lace zone on the back of the work on the wrong side. But guess what? We slide the marker, and we're going to do the exact same thing on both sides for this lace. Let's go again. It says knit 2 stitches, so I'm just going to knit 2 stitches, yarn over, knit, and recognize, knit 2 stitches together. So I just knit 2 stitches together, yarn over, knit the next 2 stitches together, yarn over, the next 2, yarn over, knit 2 stitches together. A little humid for some reason. Yarn over, knit 2 together. Okay, I'm watching for those last 2 stitches. Yarn over, knit 2 stitches together, and then simply just knit the last 2 stitches. Just simply knit them. 1, 2. Won't see much yet, but you will. You're going to love this because it's simple enough that you can walk yourself through it. All right, so I look ahead and I see that I'm on this is the cable again, and we knit the knits and purl the purl. So I see it starts with a knit 2 on the wrong side, knit 2, yarn in front, purl 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now knit, yarning back, knit 2, purl 3. Yarning back, knit 2, 1, 2, purl 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then I end this side of the cable with a knit 2. Yarning back, now knit 1 and 2. But now since we're on the back, this section is a stockinette, knit on the front, but you have to purl the stitches on the back. So yarn in front, slide my marker. Now I'm just going to purl all these stitches across till I get to my last stitch, and then I will simply knit that stitch. You can slip it or knit it through the back, purl it through the back loop, whatever you do. Later on, I'm going to share with you, you're going to see how it comes in handy, why I stick to knit the first and last stitch. There's a reason that later on I was able, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And I'll share it with you and you see if it makes sense for you. Alright, so now I'm just purling off. This is we're still on row 2. We have a cable on each side of the lace, so you have to do row 2. Do the cable on this side. Now I'm just knitting across, I'm purling across these last few stitches. I come up to my last stitch, I put my yarn in the back, and I just knit that one. Voila! That was row 2 of our sweater front. Still can't see much yet. But at least you can see the separation of things. All right, let me move my counter down, and I'm going to go and prepare and get ready for row 3. We'll be on the right side, and our first little excitement, we'll say, our first little interesting stitch to kind of break up the rhythm. All right, back in just a minute. my feet got a little cold. I got on my fuzzy wuzzy socks, but I went and turned on my little heater, so you might hear just a little hint of noise. I just needed something to warm up my feet. Oh. So I put on some of my big fuzzy socks. The kind you get, you know how you get those old fuzzy socks at Joann's? They have them near the checkout. All right, so we are up to row 3 of our sweater front. Of course, I've gone ahead and I've knit over, so I'm just knitting over until we get to the cable, the first cable section. So this was all stockinette, so on the front side I knit, so I'm just knitting over, see? Save a little time. All right, I'm up to that, to the cable. Now I'm going to read row 3. Row 3 reads, purl 2. And then if you have the book, you're going to see it says B3. And what that means is, B3, you turn to the back of the book. I had to turn because a lot of times different designers or different, stitch books will have their own little way of conveying the stitch they're trying to produce. And hers is B3. Well, that didn't make any sense to me, so I looked in the back, in her little section in the back of the book. And what it boils down to is you're going to slip a stitch, and then you're going to pass that slip stitch over the next 3 stitches. So, but I'll show it when you get here. So B3 is what you'll see in the book if you have it. Then you'll purl 2. Then you simply repeat B3, purl 2, B3, purl 2 till you finish the section. But now here's how simple it is and what it boils down to. So I see that the first stitch, 2 stitches, is 2 purls. So I'm going to put my yarn in front. I slide the marker. Okay, so it says purl 2. And this just boils down to a slip stitch cable. All right, stitch. So I have, you see the next 3 stitches are those 3 knit stitches. Can you see them? There are 3 stitches. All right, so all you have to do is put the yarn in back, slip the first stitch, just like that, knit the second stitch, then yarn over the needle and knit the third stitch. Now I've taken 3 stitches and turned it into 4 by adding that yarn over. So I'm going to reach back and see the stitch, the first stitch that we slipped right there. I'm going to just lift it over those 3 stitches and off. That's all she was trying to say. Or whoever, in the book. All right, so then I look to the next stitches. It says purl 2. 1, 2. And then again, yarning back, we have B3. With the yarn in back, slip the first stitch, knit the second stitch, yarn over the needle, and knit the third stitch. Stop. You have to remember to stop and reach back, and you'll be able to tell that slip stitch. You reach back and you lift that slip stitch over those 3 stitches and off the needle. Then yarn in front, purl 2, and yarn in back, B3. Slip, knit 1, yarn over, and knit the last one. Reach back, lift that slip stitch over and those 3 and off the needle. And I end with purl 2. 1, 2. Just really simple and easy. Okay, then I see that I'm up to the lace zone, so I yarn in back, slide the marker, and it's the same everywhere, every size, every front and back. Knit 2. 1, 2, yarn over, knit 2 stitches together. Okay, yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 stitches together, yarn over, knit 2 stitches together, yarn over, and knit 2 together till I see I have 2 stitches left, and all I have to do is just knit those last 2 stitches. 1, 2. All right, I see that I'm going to be purling to start the cable on this side of the lace, so my yarn needs to come in front, slide the marker. Okay, here we go. Purl 2. Now you can start forming a rhythm. Purl 2, yarn in back. You see the next 3 knit stitches, slip the first one, knit the second one, yarn over, and knit the last one. Stop, reach back and pick that slip stitch over those 3 and off the needle, so that you have like a little crossbar. Well, let's get to the end, you'll see it pop out. Okay, then purl 2, 1, 2, yarning back, slip 1, knit 1, yarn over, knit the last one, reach back and put that, pass the slip stitch over, and purl 2, 1, 2. Okay, let's go and continue across. And get my stitches up here. Okay, so then I have yarning back, slip 1, knit 1, yarn over, knit the last one, reach back and pass that slip stitch over, and in with a purl 2. That's the second cable section, and it's a good idea to go back and just see if you see how that slip stitch crosses over. Sometimes if you get in a hurry, once you get the rhythm, and if you don't cross past the slip stitch over, what happens? You wind up with an extra stitch on another row, and you go, oh man, wow, what am I to do? Well, it's easy to fix, to just turn it to the right, make sure you're on the right side, and you can see, tink back, and you can see where you need to just pick that slip stitch up and bring it, pass it over. But that's how it looks. So now when I get to this end, I'm on the right side. This is the stockinette section, so I'll just knit all, oops, look, I didn't put my yarn in back. If you're going to knit, be sure to switch it from those 2 purls to the back of the work. Now I will knit the rest of the row. All right, let me go ahead and finish this, and I will be back. We will be back with the last row, row 4. All right, I am on row 4, which is the wrong side. You see I have it marked, and you can tell now. And I have just purled over, you know, that stockinette section. I purled over. Now I'm up to the first cable section. So let me just get over one more stitch, and then I look ahead. I see that there's a knit stitch. I'm going to put my yarn in the back, slide the marker. Now I'm going to read row 4 of the cable. Wrong side, it says knit 2, purl 3, knit 2. Repeat, purl 3, knit 2. And you just continue across this section. And as you see now, I don't know if you can see it on this blue, but you will be able to see your own. You can now see, remember what I said, knit the knits and purl the purl stitches? You definitely see 2 knit stitches, you see 3 purl. See, now you're getting into where the pattern has begun to emerge on the back side, and I love when I do this on cable. When you do, even on this little mock cable, it pops out. So I knit 2, yarn in front, purl 3. 1, 2, 3. And if you have 4, that means you need to flip it around because you did not pass the slip stitch over. Does that make sense? So you can easily kind of tink back and then pull that stitch over, and then turn back around and continue across the row to get back. So now I have, after the purl 3, now I see that I have knit 2. I'm on the wrong side, knit 2 of the cable. Okay, now I need to put my yarn in front, and I have 3 purls, which is right, purl 3. No mistake there. Yarn in back, knit 2, 1, 2, now purl 3. See the 3 stitches? 1, 2, 3. Purl 3. Yarn in back and knit 2. Alright, now I see the lace is up next. Slide the marker. I start with 2 knit stitches. Knit 2 on every row. 1, 2. Yarn over. Knit 2 stitches together. Yarn over. Knit 2 stitches together. Yarn over. Knit 2 together. Yarn over. Let me push them up a little bit. Knit 2 together. Yarn over. Oops, like it wants to split. Knit 2 stitches together. Yarn over. Knit 2 stitches together. Then I see I only have 2 stitches left, so I don't need to yarn over. I simply just need to knit the last 2. 1, 2. Now I'm back up to my little cable on this side. I can read the stitches, so I see that I have 2 knit stitches, so yarn should be in the back. I simply knit 2, 1, 2, yarn in front, knit purl 3, purl 3, 1, 2, 3. Yarn in back, knit 2. I'm on the wrong side. Purl 3. 1, 2, and 3. Knit 2. 1, 2. Purl 3. 1, 2, 3. Knit 2 to end this section, this cable. And then I know, looking ahead, I'm on the wrong side, so I'm going to purl the rest of these stockinette stitches. So yarn in front, slide the marker, and I purl those stitches off, and for me, I knit the first and last stitch. And there we go. Maybe I'll go on to the end and then we'll stop and talk, because we have done rows 1 through 4. I just made it real simple. I didn't want anything fussy. What we're trying to get is get the steps down to make this sweater, so that from now on you're gonna see what I'm gonna use, how I'm gonna use this and develop a whole series of just working sweater fronts and just changing the stitch or changing the front design for another look or another style of a sweater, for our simple stitch for simple sweaters. So I'm just working across. And I get to my last stitch. I'm going to put my yarn in back, and I'm just going to knit it. I hope I was on camera. Alright. Let me just back out just a little bit now, just so we can just kind of talk a minute. Alright. So here are the 4 rows that I set up to use to make this sweater. You got the cables. I increased that cable and made 3. 2 just, I don't know why I would think 2. So 3 looks much nicer to have 3 cables, then the center lace. And the reason we have to do the same do the stitch on both sides, because this stitch, if we didn't, this stitch would have a tendency to have a bias. It would pull to one side or one side or the other. But by us doing the same stitch on the opposite side, it keeps it on the front. It could have a bias a little bit this way, but then when we do it on the back, the stitch brings the bias back, so that by the time we get up to the neck, by the time we go up the front, it's a nice, pretty straight stitch. But if we had just purled, it would definitely have a bias, and the stitches would be leaning, and you could not get that out even with blocking. So that's why. So it may not look as straight right now, but by the time we get up a few more rows and up towards your neck, it will be so pretty. It'll pop right out. And then here's the cable on this side, and you can see, always check to make sure you did pass the slip stitch over, because you'll see that little stitch that goes across. That way you know you have it. So now we have completed the 4 rows for you to continue to work. So the next step in the homework in this sweater progression is to start working rows 1 through 4 with the lace in the center, back and forth until you're working towards your side seam length, however many inches or whatever you decide. You're working towards that. So I'm going to work a while off camera. You don't have to try to get all the way up there. Like I said, I had about 10 inches, but I think I'm a little shy. I think I probably have to go over, because when I come back, I'm going to show you some way so that you will get the exact measurement, and it will be just great. Because we are going to add sleeves to this sweater. We're not going to just knit straight up and just have an opening for the arm, for you just to stick your arm in. We're actually going to add stitches on each side, about 4, when we get to the right point of the sweater. So right now, homework for you and for me is to work rows 1 through 4 back and forth until you reach or close to your side seam length. And mine is around 10 inches. It's probably going to go over 10, but I did get the back up to about 10 inches. Let me just get it up real quick. See? Now you've got to take the front and knit your fabric up so that we can get ready to add the sleeves and then continue on up the front. So that's all you have to do. When you get close to your side seam length, stop. Make sure you're on the right side row. Stop and wait for me there. Have fun. We're knitting right along. Back shortly. Whew. I have been working, and I hope you have too. Oh, it just makes me so excited when I see the pattern or the project as it grows. I hope you're excited too. So I wanted to come back. Like I say, I know you're just going to be getting started by the time you get this part 3. But this is what you're going to have, or hopefully have, at the end of this part 3. We've worked some of the back up to a certain point, and then we stopped, and you had to do the ribbing. And I could have told you to go ahead and do the ribbing, but I just, hey, look, my bad. To go ahead so you'd be ready. But anyway, so now you just simply have the ribbing, however many rows you did on the ribbing. You're going to follow all the steps in this part 3. And when you're done, I want you to lay it out and see, and hopefully that you have something where your tension now, because you worked on the back some, by the time you got to the front, you should be settled in knitting. And have your tension should start to kind of smooth out, and your work starts to look good. People, all knitting is practice, practice, practice. That's all it is. You get as good as you practice. So, now, as you can see, I went about 10 inches. Use something to measure your side seam. And that was the assignment. That will be the assignment when you get this, to knit up to close to, that side seam length. And mine ranges about 10 inches or between 10 and 11 inches, depending on the pattern or, the stitch. So I wanted to come back so that you could see what you should have at the end of this part 3. When we come back, just simply work up, stop, and then I will meet you, and we will meet you back, and then we will be ready to, I'm going to show you give you a few tips, and then we will be ready to add sleeves and move on up to the top of the sweater. Does that make sense? Does that sound like something you can just take your time? You know, so much is going on, and now a lot of us are kind of in our homes, and so hopefully this will kind of, you know, I don't know, give you some comfort in your mind a little bit as you're working on something while we're trying to wait and absorb all the information that's coming through on what's going on. So take care, you know, but keep working, keep your hands busy, and keep your mind calm. So I will see you back for part 4, when we will start at the add the sleeves and working up towards the top of the sweater. All right, this is Jay. See you a little later.